Hello there, my name is Jessica. I'm here with Beta Virtual Assistants. What can we talk about crypto today? I like to talk about crypto a lot, but I have to admit, I have been swamped this week. I have finished all of my taxes. I turned mine in, I got my numbers, and now I have to figure out what I have to pay this year, so that's really exciting. Although I do know that the markets must be bad when my husband texts me and says, "How's your portfolio doing today, dear?" That always is a good sign. And then I'm like scared to look because I'm like, I don't know. We'll see. It turns out it actually could have been much worse. It was not as bad as I expected, but there has been a bit of a sell-off. Most of my trading that I'm doing these days is option selling. And option selling, it's like if you are happy buying a company at this price, you sell a put at that option and which is a contract, and says, I will buy that stock at that price by that date, and you get paid for that. And so mostly that's what I'm doing for investing right now, and because you can set it up and then you can go do your other stuff. And so I looked at all of my positions today and I'm like, well, yeah, there's a couple of companies that I'm probably going to buy the stock, and there's a lot of companies that I'm not, because the price is above where it needs to be tomorrow when they expire. So either way, it's all good. So that's where I'm at with investing. I know that I did check on the Bitcoin market. It's, of course, bouncing all over the place as usual. So is now the time to buy? Who knows? I do not have a crystal ball. I cannot tell you when is the time to buy. Michael Saylor of MicroStrategy fame is telling you when it's to buy. He is buying every week still, and he is leveraging his company, and he's taking out debt to buy more Bitcoin because he believes that in the future, Bitcoin is going to be worth more than it is right now. And so far, he's been right about that. He did buy a significant portion of Bitcoin that was not priced at 80,000 or 100,000 or whatever it is today. So he's, even though the market has fallen since January, in January it peaked at around 109,000 for a Bitcoin. And what that means is you don't have to buy an entire Bitcoin. You actually can buy a part of a Bitcoin. So one little tiny piece of a Bitcoin is a Satoshi. And a Satoshi can be divided up. You can divide a Bitcoin up to 8 decimals. And each one of those little bits is called a Satoshi. And a Satoshi, I think you have to buy at least 10 of them to even get to a value of a penny here in the United States. So just because you don't have $80,000 sitting around these days, it doesn't mean you can't buy some Bitcoin. And when you don't have very much, buying $20 of Bitcoin today versus when it peaked in January, you're actually still getting very similar amounts because it's $20. It's not a huge difference. So maybe I could have, I haven't done the numbers on this, I'm totally making this up, but maybe I could have bought Bitcoin at 109,000. So I only got, 0.0002 or whatever. And then today it's at 80,000, so I could get 0.00021 or something. I mean, it's like very little difference. So if you're buying, and I do this, I buy Bitcoin every day. I have it set up so that it buys $15 a Bitcoin no matter what the market is doing. And so I am buying all the time while it's down here in the 80s, and while it was in the 90s, and while it was at the hundreds, I was buying, and it over time, it's not going to matter. But if you have larger amounts, it does tend to matter more, because you look at it and you go, okay, at Christmas time, I bought not a full Bitcoin. I bought $1,000 worth of Bitcoin. It was at 100,000. So it was a 0.01, I think, Bitcoin. And that was great and terrific. And now I'm like, well, damn, now I could get 0.12 Bitcoin for the same price. And so that's a little bit of a bummer, but at the same time, in 5 years, do I care if I bought it at 100,000 or at 80,000? No, because in 5 years, I'm expecting it to be worth a lot more. So I do talk about this a lot, but if you're going to invest in crypto, number one, invest for the long term. And number two, don't check it every day. And number three, there's different kinds of investors. So you can invest for there's the kinds of investors that are going to buy some Bitcoin, like Michael Saylor, he's going to buy Bitcoin and he's going to stick it away somewhere and he's going to not use it. He's not going to sell it. He's not going to do anything with it. He's just going to hold it and he's going to have it for the rest of his life. And I don't know what happens after that, but he's not intending to sell it. Now, at some point, you might intend to sell something. Like, for instance, maybe you want to buy a house in 10 years, and Bitcoin that you bought for 100,000 is now worth $1 million. And so you say, you know what, I'm going to sell 100,000 of it, pull it out, and buy a house. That's completely reasonable. If you can find a house for $100,000 in 10 years, I'm pretty sure you can't. But the point stands. If you put it in there and you're just leaving it alone, that is one kind of investing. That is like long term, not going to touch it, just let it do its thing. And that is fairly, I was telling somebody this yesterday and I was surprised she hadn't heard about it, but they say that they've done retroactive studies looking at people's accounts, and one of the big brokerages, maybe Schwab, they looked at everybody's accounts and who did the best. And they discovered that the best investors in the stock market over the last 25 years or whatever it was, or 50 years, were the ones who actually, their accounts were open, but they were dead. So they weren't doing anything. They bought something 25 years ago, 50 years ago, and they haven't done anything. And their accounts, like by and large, were worth much more than the ones of all the rest of us. Like for me, instance, I'm like sitting there going, oh, what can I buy? What can I sell? What can I do? So sometimes it just makes sense to just buy something and leave it alone and don't touch it. Now, if you have more time and you enjoy a more stressful life, or you want to be more stressed, you can invest in other things besides Bitcoin. So there's lots of coins besides Bitcoin. And in fact, there are people making up thousands and thousands of coins every single day. The thing with those coins is it's not investing. It's a lottery. It's a total gamble, because if you are lucky enough to recognize the coin that is going to go up, or not even recognize it, but if you are lucky enough to purchase the coin that goes up, then you have to decide when to sell it. And I guarantee you that it will go up and then it will come down. It's just a question of how far it goes up and how long it takes. That's the only question, because if you are releasing tens of thousands of tokens every day, which they are, just like math, there's no way that all of them are going to go and be worth something a week from now. So what you need to do is you need to play the game of like watching what you're doing, maybe find coins that might have a future, they might last longer. Some of the bigger coins that they're releasing, for instance, they released a coin called Pengu a couple months ago. Now, Pengu, everybody was talking about it because it was the coin being released if you had the Pudgy Penguins NFTs. And I guess a lot of people had Pudgy Penguins. So everyone was talking about it for a good couple of weeks before it actually happened. But the coins that they're releasing, like on a lot of these exchanges, like not even in the like main exchanges, they're like on the like really sketchy ones. You can buy a lot of coins for very little money, and it's very good chance that it will go straight up, it will go straight down, and you really want to time it. So if you do buy it, you sell it here. And like they say, if you are taking a screenshot of your winnings is the time to sell it, because 99% of the time, I can attest to that. Actually, in January, right before the inauguration, the Trump team released the official Trump token, and it went crazy. It was like 3 days of craziness right before, over the weekend. It was Friday night. They released this coin. It went straight up, and everybody was talking about it. And so I heard about it, I think on Saturday. And on Saturday, I was like, oh, well, they've been trading it since yesterday. There's no way it's going to keep going up. But it did keep going up. And I was like, oh, well, I don't want to miss out. So then on Sunday, I think I bought $10 worth of it. And on Sunday, it did continue going up. It actually went up. My $10 became $12. And I was like, ooh, I want to take a screenshot. Look, it's going up. And that is where it peaked. And then after that, it dove down. I think last time I checked on it, it was $8. And I have no idea what it is now. I'm not expecting it to be worth very much. I should have sold it already, but I haven't. So That's a very different kind of investing, if you can call on that, because it's lottery, it's gambling, it's taking a risk with something. It's like buying a lottery ticket. You hand your dollar over and you pick some numbers and you hope that your numbers get picked. Like, how realistic is that, and is it going to pay off? Probably not. If you're enjoying the process, that's one thing. But if you're expecting to make life-changing money, you're probably putting too much pressure on yourself and you're not going to succeed. So I don't advise that. And then there's like the third kind of investor who goes out and does research on actual projects that have a future. Like, for instance, you might look at the Ethereum blockchain and you might say, wow, there's a lot of people building on Ethereum. Ethereum collects gas fees for the services it provides. And so there's a way for it to make money. And right now it's kind of in the toilet and everybody's kind of mad at it because it was supposed to go up and it hasn't gone up at all. It's like, oh, well, now might be a good time to invest in this project. And that's like an example of a real world project. Or, like, for instance, there's a project, I think it's Helium, where it's like the phone. They are building a phone network for the places where there's gaps in the main phone networks, like T-Mobile and AT&T. They don't cover certain areas, and so Helium is making an effort to get those areas covered. And they do it by providing a little antenna that you put in your house, I guess, and then it provides like a small circle around it of data that, or the receptivity or whatever. So it increases the network, so the network works better, or something like that. And I have no idea if that's a good idea to do just because of like health reasons. Like, I'm not sure. I've heard cell phones are bad, and having a cell tower installed, a mini cell tower installed in your house, doesn't sound like a good idea to me. But on the other hand, if you can see that it's a company providing a real service for real people and it's using crypto as part of that, that might be something worth investing in. Or some of these lending protocols, there's some lending protocols such as Maker Sky, which they have a business providing money to crypto people and they're making money on the money that they're providing. So buying real companies with a real purpose can be a good way to invest. And maybe it will go up crazy, and maybe the hype cycle of that crypto market is maybe not ever going to be as good as it was in previous years. So if you've heard about people making money overnight in crypto, that might still happen occasionally, but a lot of the times it's not. Which reminds me that last week somebody took advantage. I mean, the way that I hear people making lots of money these days is like the scammers. So somebody was trading on Hyperliquid, which is a decentralized exchange that you can only access on the internet. And supposedly there's no company controlling it. They took advantage of the contract. It's all contracts on this chain. They were shorting. They took a short position on a token, a jelly token, and then they took two long positions, and then they created some kind of short squeeze. So like one position lost, but the other two won, or something like that. And then because of the way the shorting works, there was some way that if they get automatically liquidated, because at some point you hit losses enough that the whatever exchange is providing your liquidity says, okay, that's enough, and they pull the rug out and you lose all your funds. And so they got liquidated, which meant that that company had to overtake the hype blockchain, whatever, had to overtake that short position, which then created some big gain for the guy with his longs and huge losses for hype. And so actually the hype founders apparently went in and said, yeah, this isn't happening. They kind of shut it down and they kind of walked it back, maybe, which is like, okay, so you claim you're decentralized, but you just went and saved your ass when it, was easy for you to do. So that's interesting in and of itself. But so that guy, and then of course the guy who did it, whoever it was, because it's all contracts, we don't know who it was, but they were going to make a lot of money on that part and lose a lot of money on this part, but overall make a lot of money. But then it got walked back, and so now they have a loss or something like that. So it didn't work out in this case, but this is the only time I hear of life-changing things is like people already have a lot of money, they invest it in a crazy meme token, and it happens to go up, and they happen to sell it just at the right time. And there's so many things. Or the people who are setting up some of these tokens, like the 13-year-old who set up a token a few weeks ago on pump.fun, and then like basically said, "See ya, suckers," at the end of it, because he ran off with all the money that people had put in to buy the token, and he just ran off with it because he felt like it. Because he's 13 and it's like $30,000. Yeah, I'll take that. Even though your token becomes worthless and you become like a meme on the internet, and people find out where you live and threaten you, and like there's so many things going on in the world these days. So you got to be careful. But the life-changing crypto investing that you hear about, or you have heard about over the last few years, might not be as easy to achieve as you would think just from hearing about it. Because there's definitely a lot of people who have lost a lot of money in crypto. And if you're smart, you'll try not to be one of those people. So that's what I've got for you today, and we'll see you around. I hope this video has inspired you, informed you, or simply made your day a little bit better. If it did, please consider sharing it with someone who might also learn from it. And if you want to be part of this community, don't forget to subscribe. Your support means everything. Until then, take care.